We are live according to this thing. Welcome back, everybody. As you can see, we've made some progress. The wiring harness is getting put into the car. Pedals are in place. Jason's down there getting the throttle pedal, the drive-by-wire throttle pedal, put in, since it's easier to do without the engine in place. And as soon as he's done with that, we are going to stab the engine and transmission assembly into the car. We'll probably let Jason out, since that's exactly where the transmission goes. While you were away, looks like we made some progress on the steering linkage. And obviously the big news is we got the engine and transmission together.
The number doesn't switch over.
As you may recall,
It switches over to a different
Tony and Smitty were wrestling with it, trying to get the two to move together, and they ended up getting some bolts in place, getting it all square so that it'd go together easier. You can hear us? Yeah. Oh yeah? Okay.
Did you grab the one knock sensor out of the bag?
Yeah, I got it kind of started over there.
Smitty, you mic'd up?
I think so. Is that the right one?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
Screw that in.
Are we waiting on a sensor, or we just got it?
Just got it. The beauty of not being in a parking lot.
We'll leave those kind of loose until we get
Yeah, that's right.
and all that stuff.
We were able to get a sensor without a special
Oil
parking
lines.
permit.
There's no oil lines back there.
No, there's not.
It's up front.
We're good.
It's up front.
I thought you got a socket out for me.
It didn't fit. And they went over it, but right when I went down it, it pinched. I almost got a die grinder and made some cleans right there. Take some lots of tape. It'll suck itself shut right really deep.
Thanks, Drake. Yeah, it's a great color. It's PPG
Had a
Stealth
ratchet
Gray.
Allen on it.
Yeah, well, it was easier to hold it in here, or to
Alright.
hold it out there.
You about got it?
Yeah.
We can force it. But to fit it, you gotta file and all that shit down.
We do have the new sway bar installed, which is the first one we've built.
So is this our second gen muscle bar? Is this a track one only part?
I honestly don't know the exact answer to that. I don't think. I think we're trying to dial in a for sure rate. This bar will probably be a track one bar because it's heavy.
Well, that's the advantage of watching a ride tech car go together. You're looking at some development parts. Here we go.
Lay on your little mat. Get your cross member there. We're gonna need the floor jack. That could be the button guy.
You can do the button if you want, but remember,
It's touchy.
yeah, it drops
All
like
right.
an inch or two every time. Come down. Down.
Jason, you have to move one of the mats forward so you can get the jack under there.
That Max Custom Tie Downs pivot plate. Makes things a lot easier.
The tail, not quite.
On this particular engine transmission combination, we are helping it along with the floor jack
Just
underneath.
about, we're just not low enough yet. I don't want to put it into the firewall.
Wow, nice and easy. And since we have an access plate in the transmission tunnel, you get to see the transmission and a hand. Ah! I'm stuck. It's like something from the Addams Family.
Which way you want to run these?
So yeah, we didn't need to put a
You can
service
only go
plate
one way.
in the transmission tunnel, but it definitely makes life easier.
Yeah, go down a little too.
Come up. Oh, more. Oh, you're high enough. It's just look like that.
Mike Ballard is getting the main harness in place.
Yeah, you can go up. Get the transmission cross member under it.
Smart Wire system has a nicely labeled harness. We have motor mount bolts working their way in.
What's that? Yeah, so did mine, except I forgot to put the washer on.
Smitty showing us the correct way to use a snap-on hammer.
See how perfect the motor mounts are set? See my engine mount bolt? Like butter.
Yeah. Yeah, this motor and transmission have been in the car, in and out of the car a bunch of times throughout the fabrication process. So you guys just watched it jump off the floor and install itself.
What's that? The
And
5/8
here
or
comes
7/16.
that harness through the front of the firewall. These guys don't waste any time. Motor's in place and the harness is coming through. Now I don't know if this harness has been on the car yet.
No.
No? So this is the first time the harness and the car have been together.
We did some rough wiring just to get some stuff kind of in place.
I thought you put a bulkhead in there. No, rubber on. Oh, you didn't use that bulkhead. Or I gave you like that 30-pin bulkhead thing?
No, we were using that. We were going to use that for.
They're nice. It just takes a little time.
You want to?
Yeah.
Let's get the valve covers on this as quick as we can.
Yeah, as soon as that.
There's nothing like working on a fresh, clean car.
Leave it on there. You're not taking this off, are you? Oh, you're okay. Yeah, you tension it a little more.
Taking the engine plates off. I know.
So Mike, how the brakes coming along?
Good.
Pedals are all in.
Those are all in.
All right, let's stop there, Mike, and get this. Let's get the valve cover on.
Later.
Our brake lines
We gotta
running in the
get
front.
We got to get the
No,
gaskets into it,
but
weaved into them.
he's got them across the front cross members so far. And now that we've got masters on the firewall, he can get that done pretty easily.
Right.
You need the down tube in the front first.
Oh, that's right. We're gonna put the down tubes on next, people. I can't wait to see those.
Z-state.
One of the things about working on a car at this level is making sure you don't
They got to go completely out.
No,
scratch the paint.
they're probably good already.
Later on, we'll be all taking rides on the hoist.
Shiny valve train parts.
Yeah. Which you're going to get covered with some very cool SPDC race shop valve covers, which it looks like Mike's working on right now. Mike Ballard.
You want to peel the tape off the heads, and I get you some cleaner to get the glue off of them. Do you keep them somewhere?
We can keep them with it. You never put these on, you gotta pay attention because they'll block a spark plug if you put them on wrong.
Oh yeah. That is your tech tip of the day. The Cometic gaskets can go on upside down.
I have the ones that were the energy stuff right there. Fancy
There
stuff.
was other films.
Fancy stuff, I don't remember about that. All that shiny shit, that's good.
So we can get the valve covers on, we can get the headers on, right? Then we'll do the down bars. The harness has been run through the firewall. Valve covers already have the MSD coils on top. These LS engines obviously have much better valve cover gasket sealing technology than old Gen 1 small blocks ever did. Yep. Yep.
What do they hold on with? Hard grips.
I think
5.
Wiring harnesses always look intimidating
Get the
when they
transmission
first get laid out in the
deal
car.
and we can start putting
But
the
you know what?
back half the cage in.
Plug in one wire at a time.
I think it's more intimidating when you gotta fix them and they're already all together.
Yeah, that's true.
Where's that wire in there?
Yep. But yeah, as you plug things in, one less thing to plug in, makes more sense.
You know, if you're at home building your car, an easy way to make a more balanced car is to move the motor back. And any amount you move it back helps. We moved this one back about 3 inches. We could have went a little further, but we did a lot of clearance on the firewall, just more of a ease of use to have maintenance, be able to get to the back of the motor, not have it so tight. We made some extra clearance on the passenger side for the battery cables and lines to get ran through there also.
And a header tube too, right?
Now the header tube really isn't much of an issue. It's more about getting the battery cables down through, because we're going to run the battery cables through the inside of the car.
Cool.
You got this block that you didn't drill in the car, though, did you?
No. I have to drill them after.
Got a whole saw right? You fucked up. You should be coming to the firewall right here, where you're positive.
We can drill from the inside.
Oh, this is true.
Make sure we ICs those too. A few more wires than a carbureted motor.
3 or 4, right?
Something like that.
Hardware should not be better packaged than food.
I think some of our hardware's packaged better than food because it's airtight.
Just come this way like a half inch.
There you go, a whole lot of wires. Whole lot of sensors, whole lot of connections.
Or maybe even
I could just,
back just a little bit. It's like right at the front edge of the hole. And it needs to come
GM
like a half
MetroPack
inch.
connectors.
is the cross member right to let, you need to do a 180 with it?
They are weather tight,
Pretty sure it's center. I don't think it matters which way.
heat resistant.
Are you centered with the transmission right now, the tail of it?
What, in the hole? No.
And then just go grab a punch and put it in the hole and hold it over.
Valve cover's a work of art. CNC machined. Started out as a much larger chunk of metal,
Larger and heavier.
larger and heavier.
See where the NFT's got off to, Chris?
No, I didn't. The motor mounts weren't the same right and left, were they?
No, they're different. What do you mean? You're confusing me. What do you mean? One's on the frame, no, one's on the frame, you can't get backwards. The lower hole's like a half an inch further down on one side.
So they're going to get the headers on next. Once the headers are on, they'll be able to put the down bars on.
The headers will go in and out with the down bars on. It's just way easier to do it with nothing in the way. There's tiles right here, Mike.
There they are. Smitty, tell me about the headers.
Those are Ultimate Headers. They're a local company up in Bree, Ohio. We've worked with them in the past on different fitments. Since we moved the motor around on this car, we kind of needed a special header, and their universal one just happened to be the right fit. So they are
Really?
they're an out-of-the-box header.
How often does that happen? A universal header that
Yeah,
looks like a set of $2,000 headers.
yeah. They make a couple of different versions for the first and second gen Camaros, and
That's great.
I've helped them do some fitment on them, and this happens to fit in the car perfectly.
So these are stainless steel.
Yep, stainless steel.
What diameter?
1 7/8, 3-inch collector. Kind of a cool little feature they have here is the first pipe is actually a cast piece.
Really?
So anytime you even mandrel bend something,
cast, but it's pretty thin.
It egg shaped, so
Yeah.
you don't lose any.
So it's perfectly round all the way through.
Yep.
Sorry, dude.
So you actually pick up more, you lose less horsepower here than what you could by doing equal length some of that stuff because you gained a volume. It's interesting to see them on a thermal gun when
Yeah.
they're running.
It's right there. It's right there.
It's a serious fucking washer.
You have more bolts somewhere for the headers?
There's one more on the frame rail right
See what I'm
there.
talking about right there? You get that wrong, that stupid overhang blocks your spark plug from going on.
It fell. It's right there.
Go ahead and get the center hoop ready and have you just start putting roll cage stuff in. You're not going nowhere.
It's gonna be close to there. I think it starts with finishing bolting that down. What was the bolt in the kit that was threaded the whole way?
Once the whole header tube, look, that hole's up too. It's down a little bit. Pull it up.
I just squeezed it.
understand which bolt that one's supposed to be.
Did you run a tap to the firewall too, holes, Jay?
We're gonna make a spacer for underneath.
Thanks everyone for watching as we work on the Track 1 Camaro. While we're here, if you have any questions, hit us up. Love to get a little Q&A going. If you have something you want us to aim the camera at real close, we can do that, or fire away with any questions. If you want, go ahead and share this live stream so your friends can watch also. Thanks for sharing, Dave. Mike Ballard's walking around plugging in connections. Making it look easy. What you working on, Smitty? Tiger cage?
Just trying to get everything going, make sure everything's going in the right direction and everything right now. He's going to put the drive shaft loop in it in a second. We're going to put the drive shaft in it. Then we're going to put on the rear hoop, rear down bars all in the tiger cage. We're going to leave the middle section out so we don't have to crawl over it.
Yeah, so it's easier to work on.
Yep. Looks like Mike's plugging in the front half of the Holly harness onto the engine.
Yeah.
We'll put the down bars here in a few minutes, get some more of the brake line stuff hooked up. We'll have to make the long brake line front to back of the car.
Who's going to make the brake lines? Tony?
Tony will make the brake lines. Get that tidied up.
Is this car going to have a back seat?
I'm not sure we're in the back seat yet. Trent was up here yesterday. We're talking about upholstery stuff. Since we're on a time crunch and we're sorting the car out, we're not going to completely do the interior. We're going to put some door panels on and put the back plastic panels in. Get some carpet in it, but we're not going to get crazy.
Yeah, go ahead, get the car sorted out in Texas and then come back and...
Come back when we have a little time, get up to Trent, have him do a little interior work in it.
Cool. What's the name of Trent's shop?
Trent's Trick Upholstery.
That's it.
So we'll work on that when we get back. Just some of the things aren't a crisis to go shake the car down, so
Yep.
we'll cross that bridge when we get back. You know, there's a lot of little things that'll go on. The big exciting parts already went on the car.
Yeah, yeah.
So unfortunately, we're gonna be doing more tedious stuff from here on out.
Well, we still have some cool stuff coming. We have carbon fiber doors. That's a pretty cool piece. Now, those, who makes those?
Ultra Carbon made the doors and trunk lid.
Out of like Seattle, Washington, or
Yep.
something like that?
And then Carbon Customs built a whole nose on the car.
Right.
And then we have a D&Z front splitter on the car.
Yeah. And the rear spoilers are a combination of Ring Brothers parts and handmade stuff?
Yes. Guess my mic's not on or not working.
Oh, yeah?
Let's see if we have volume now. Maybe. I guess no one got to hear any of that.
Well, I'll keep talking while we work that out. So
I think we have volume now.
Yeah.
What I was saying was, as a quick overview, is we're going to put the drive shaft in it and this drive shaft safety loop in. Mike's working on wiring the motor up. Going to get the back half of the tiger cage in.
Yeah, volume.
And we'll start working on some of the detail stuff. You know, the big items went in pretty quick, so that's pretty cool, and it's done. You know, a lot of tedious stuff has to happen. Wiring is always the most troublesome undertaking of a build, it seems, when we're doing this.
Now, we're going to have carbon fiber doors, which sounds like real race car stuff, but we're going to have full door glass, right?
Well, kind of. We're going to have Lexan. But
Lexan?
Lexan.
Okay.
Shields build us a full Lexan kit for the car. It's
cool.
OE thickness. It's
Yeah,
not,
they make really nice stuff.
it's not the real thin stuff. It's regular thickness.
And is it going to be power or hand crank?
Power.
Power Lexan windows. That's cool.
Yeah. I don't know why. It just sounds better.
It does, yeah.
Because we can.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that before.
Well, you might as well. You know, one of the cool things about the car was, here before I took off last week, I sat down for about 4 days, I think it was, and got on Summit's website and literally ordered every part I could for this car.
You mean you can get Shields brand Lexan side glass from
Well,
Summit?
not that part.
Yeah, okay.
But all the little parts, all of our parts put the doors together, all the new slides, the regulator
Right.
parts, the power window kits, you know, all the detents, all the pieces to hook the glass up, all
Right.
come from there. You know, they carry
Cool.
every OER part there is new tail lights with the LED insert, bezels, park lamp,
Yeah. So
all
Summit,
the little stuff.
Summit Racing Equipment sells restoration parts too.
Well, yeah, and I think, you know, that might get lost a little bit. You know, it's they have it all in stock's the key. I guess if Michael takes a quick little zoom over here at this little cart, you know, this whole cart is all the little parts it's going to take to put this car together. And the beauty of Summit is, you know, anywhere in the country you get stuff within 2 days. We're lucky enough we get it the next day. So, like, I went through and made a whole parts list. We got every fitting to build the whole car here on hand already. If there's something we need, they have it.
I'll tell you what, I'm based in Phoenix, and I get my Summit parts the next day as well, because they come from the Nevada warehouse.
Washing all the down tube bolts and just flat
On,
down tube.
put them
Drive
Nord
shaft
locks on it.
tunnels, drive shaft safety loops going in.
Tube bars.
The ones going down into the thing.
Just use a Nord lock and not any other kind of washer.
Right. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. Luckily, being in Ohio, having Summit right here and Flaming Rivers here.
Right. And that drive shaft safety loop came from Summit as well?
Yep, that's actually a Summit brand part there.
And it's a split design, so it's serviceable.
Yes. Yep. And it actually fit in really easy. It was, half hour to put in. It was pretty painless. The whole Summit deal, we got Willwood's here with us too, and it's amazing how many Willwood brake kit Summit stocks.
Right.
I'd hate to know what the dollar inventory is, but
Yeah.
buy a couple of houses because they have it all on hand, and that's the beauty of Summit is you call them today, you get it tomorrow. The Amazon of car parts.
That's it, yeah. And I see our Instinct electronic shock cans match our wheels.
Yeah, they're a copper color too. Michael's kind of zoomed in on the inside of the car there. The one thing we did on this car was just for simplicity, and I had to make the top of the transmission tunnel anyways. We just made it removable.
Mark, thanks for commenting on the wheels. Yeah, that's pretty cool color. We've got two sets of wheels. If you didn't follow along earlier, there's a more stealthy black set of wheels that has satin center and a gloss lip. Really cool.
I wish I would have known.
And then we have our second set of wheels are what Forge Line is calling Pylon Orange. So same color as the cone that wheel might kill. Say hi to Mary, Dave.
Was that Dave Posey?
Yeah. Yep. Look,
That's kind of funny.
We have Dave Posey tuned in. We have Mark Allen here.
No, Mark just went autocross in his car. He just put an LT4 in it.
Jeff Tate's with us. Hey, Jeff. JG. JG Pastor Jack from Grassroots Motorsports is watching this live stream. Haven't talked to you in a while, JG. Good to hear from you. Did you? Hopefully you got your shocks.
Another new part in the car is actually Bowler's building a new shifter handle now. Gives you another option with an offset gate on top of it. Yeah, I was going to seam seal them when we seam seal the inside stuff. Did you already make the harness for the transmission? I saw that. That's why I asked.
Yeah, it was just pre-made, so.
Hey, Smitty, you have a lot of tires.
That's part of them.
What do we got? We have BF Goodrich Rival S, some fat tires. Those aren't all for this car. I see some 275s over there. We're not running 275s on the Track 1 Camaro. What are we doing for tires?
315s, 335s on this car, 275s on the 48-hour build we did at Barrett. But the tires all come here. We'll load them onto the trailer, and I'll stop down at Ride-Tech, pick up the orange car when we head to Texas next week, and I'll just take the tires with me.
And the Rival S, it's got some stick.
Yeah, they're great autocross tires. Sticky. I think that's what they asked for, sticky.
And you can only get them in one place, right?
Sprint, but
Yeah, is that
we'll
it?
go with sticky.
And you can only get them one place, right?
Yeah, tire rack. Yeah.
Did you know
Yep.
that? You can only get BF Goodrich Rival S tires, for the moment anyway, at Tire Rack. Tony's putting the driver's side down bar in place. That will add a good amount of structural rigidity to this package and will tie into the Tiger cage in the cockpit. Take note that this is one of the few prototype parts on this car. Pretty much everything on this car is intentionally bolt-on. So I'm guessing this part will remain a prototype for a while. We got a lot of new parts being developed in the engineering department. Pretty long list. What is the box hanging off that down bar with the holes drilled in it?
That's for your 3 remote reservoirs for the
Oh, cool.
cylinders.
Dan Ballard's with us. What's up, Dan? Dan, make sure you go ahead and share this live stream so your buddies can follow also. Just hit that share button right in the live stream. Adam, the Track 1 Camaro is a 1970 model. It's been a California. It started out a California car. Hey Tony, what are we using for subframe bushings? DSE. Which are aluminum, right? Yeah, so we're using solid bushings. We're using aluminum bushings from Detroit Speed and Engineering. The engine, Mauricio, is a 7-liter LS7. The brakes are 14-inch 3-piston up front Willwood arrows. Tony, you remember how much horsepower the engine made? I think it was 670. 670. It made the engine came from SDPC Race Shop out of Texas, and if you go to our website, you can actually see a dyno video of the engine being run, and a great article on the build. go to the website and go to the project section in the top right, and you'll see all the deals. About 670 horsepower. So Jason's under the car putting the Dynotech drive shaft in place. Lying on those nice Max Custom tie-down mats. JG, the 335s in the rear fit using stock quarter panels, 100% stock. However, the inner wheelhouses have been moved in using a Detroit Speed mini tub kit. Thanks, Mauricio. The front fenders, JG, are carbon fiber, and they are flared to accommodate 315s up front. There are aftermarket subframes that will accommodate a 315 up front. However, we being Smitty, has a very specific preference on track width. He doesn't like to have the hub center line inboard. Mark, yeah, the rear end uses Miller-built full floater conversion hubs, which are C7 based hubs that you can buy at any Chevrolet dealer if you have to service them, or should you have some sort of a bizarre failure out in the fields, you can just go right to the Chevy dealer and get replacements. And the whole idea of that kit is you can buy a bolt-on conversion kit and then work with a rear-end manufacturer like Curry Enterprises. Curry Enterprises will sell you a crate rear end that has our 4-link mounting tabs already fixture welded in place, as well as the right flanges to accept those Miller-built full floater housing ends. That's a pretty cool little business based in Arizona.
I love printing bolts in one flat at a time.
Lance, you need to get that car done. Hopefully you're enjoying the build. I think the website for Miller Built is millerbuiltusa.com. But just look up Miller Built Full Floater, or go to protouring.com, Larry Callahan's protouring.com, or lateralg.net and search Miller Built. I'm sure you'll find some really good message board posts on the subject. Lance, yeah, I still have my first car. So keep it forever. Yeah, Jeff, I miss seeing your 69 out there. They are bolting on that down bar. And making it look easy. If you just tuned in, go ahead and share this post. Just hit the share button right in the middle of the live stream so that your friends can watch along with us. And thank you for sharing. Sharing is caring. Dave Schartz with us. Dave, if you can hear us, we love the orange wheels. You got to see them in person on the PPG Stealth gray paint. And the wheel centers are a nice match too.
Oh, no, but these loose is gonna be worse than the paint. They're self-scoring.
Cole Reynolds is with us. How's it going, Cole? So, you're still mic'd up? Are you running inner fender wells?
Yes. Bergen Customs.
Lance, those down bars are custom. They do look cool though. Yes, we do plan on running inner fender wells. Lance, you can go to ridetech.com and look at our Tiger cage and look at all the bars that we do offer. Sean, the motor is a SDPC race shop, 7-liter LS7 with dry sump. Puts out about 670 horsepower. Thanks, Dane. Thanks, Jason. That helps a lot. Looks good with those 2 dam bars in place.
I like it when you put the center one with the motor.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there's a crossover bar that goes on it.
That's really cool.
Sits right above the throttle body. Clamps on with regular Tiger cage clamps.
Oh, okay, cool. Is that going on now, too, or are you going to wait a little while for that one? Everyone, thank you for tuning in and watching. It's a real honor to have you guys watching along as this car comes together. We're going to do this again tomorrow and Friday for sure, and depending on how things go, who knows, we might even go into the weekend. But it's a lot of fun for us. I know I'm getting tired watching these guys work. Yep, those are ultimate headers, and they're actually a universal part. We talked about them a little earlier. Despite being a universal part, they fit second-gen Camaros with LS motors perfectly. It's really pretty interesting when you think about the fact that the motor's been moved back 3 inches, and we've got universal header, and they actually fit. So they look like $2,000 headers that we got for universal money. Stainless steel with cast flanges and cast 90-degree elbows coming out of the flanges. So I see some other parts staged, waiting to go on. I see the fuel tank over there by Rick's Tanks, swapping out the fuel pump to Corvette style. As mentioned in the last live stream, it's got a pickup that mounts to the bottom of the tank and siphons every last drop of fuel. Even if you got like a half inch of fuel in there, it'll do its job. The rear end dock is a Curry Enterprises Turn 9 fabricated housing. The axles are splined at both ends so that they accept Miller-built full floater housing ends, and the rear end also has RideTech's second-gen 4-link tabs fixture welded in place. One of the most special parts of this car is the all-new 4-link design that uses a rear subframe layout where we have separate frame rails that run alongside the original frame rails, lower links, and then upper links that are angled, and the geometry is such that the upper links come through the rear bulkhead, through holes in the rear bulkhead, and attach to a special cradle that locates the forward upper mounting points. They even have eccentrics on them that allow a little bit of adjustment on the inside. And then all that seals up with some really cool boots. You can go find that 4-link on RideTech's website. That's a part that we just introduced at the SEMA show in 2017. Doc Alexander's asking for a walk around. If you want to walk around with the camera, do a lap, it's okay. You got to go nice and slow so it doesn't get blurry. Doesn't look blurry to me. Keep going. Looks fine. There you go, Doc. Look at that PPG stealth gray paint. I'll tell you what, the color changes a lot. On your computer screen, it might look like it leans blue. Standing here in front of it, it kind of leans red. The orange wheels definitely stand out and make the color pop even more. The black wheels have a slightly different effect. As you can see, the wiring harness is in place, waiting for everything to get hooked up. The guys are really working in a logical order. The first thing to go in was the rear end assembly and the new RideTech 4-link. There's that cradle I was talking about earlier. That cradle just grabs hold of the rear bulkhead and takes advantage of all the strength that's in that area where the transmission tunnel comes together with the rear bulkhead. And it just gave us the opportunity to put the upper forward mounting points right where they need to be. And then a lot of work went into making that cradle slim so that you could still run your stock back seat. That's pretty awesome. Mauricio, the car is going to be raced probably for 3 years in a couple of series. Good Guys Autocross, Drive Auto X, that's a new series by Jimmy Day, and FM3 Marketing and Optima. So we're going to do some of those races, and then there are other events that we might attend as well, like the Motor State Challenge. That's always a popular event. So we'll do that. We'll also hit up some car shows and drive the car on the street, drive the car across the country as much as we can. And then typically after 3 years of doing that, we go ahead and sell the car and build something else. So about a 3-year cycle. We just sold the 48-hour Corvette at Barrett-Jackson and followed that formula to the letter. Built it in 2014. Sold it January 2018 at Barrett-Jackson. The new owner is here in Ohio. Real happy with it. He's driving a car on the street at the moment and says he wants to drive it a bunch more once the weather clears up. Go, it's okay. Get on in there. Get on in there.
What do you think of that wheel?
Yeah, look for the Track 1 Camaro at Des Moines. That's always a fun event. So up front, the custom down bars are in place, the engine and transmission are in place, brake pedals are where they need to be, the RideTech Track 1 suspension is installed, complete too. We've got upper control arms, lower control arms, the Instinct electronic shocks are in place, the sway bar has been installed. The steering linkage, including the billet steering arms, are installed. And then, of course, we have that powder-coated factory front subframe that we talked about earlier in the first live stream. That's actually the car's original factory subframe that has been welded and then just ground down. So there isn't even any filler or anything on there. And then the whole thing has been powder coated. So it looks like it's been filled and smooth, but turns out just some really nice quality welding and some grinding to get it smooth. Yeah, so Smitty confirms that is the original subframe that came with this California rust-free car. I don't think we got it from California, but we got it from a good friend who bought it from California. Tim McGilton is the one who went and found this car, and I still remember being, I don't remember where, because we never know where we are. It was Columbus or somewhere. Where was it? It was Good Guys Raleigh, one of the first races of the year, and I still remember Smitty chewing Tim's ear off, wanting to get the car. That's cool, Jeff. Mike from Willwood's installing the reservoirs on the custom bracket that hangs off the side of that down bar. We really appreciate Willwood coming out this year and helping out on this build. Tony is, see, I'm from New York. I can't say Tony without saying, Tony. Tony? Hey, Tony. Hey. Oh, hey, Tony.
How you doing?
Tony is getting the Tiger cage clamp attached to that custom down bar, which will then allow him to secure the crossbar that goes over the throttle body. That's a cool piece right there. Cast stainless steel. Willwood brakes are really coming into focus. Those reservoirs will end up in a place that make it very easy to service. And they're far away enough from the headers that they're not susceptible to heat. Mike Ballard's putting the starter in place. Looks like we're using a Power Master mini starter. Part number 9509. We get this from Summit. So yeah, this is a high torque mini starter that that gets along nicely with our ultimate universal headers. Yeah.
Them headers fit our first and second gen cars.
Huh. So one universal header part number works on both this second gen 1970 car and our first gen 1967 48-hour Camaro. So if you're terrified to buy a set of headers because you're afraid you'll spend a bunch of money and they won't fit, check out Ultimate Headers. You know the part number, Smitty? Come on. You need to channel your inner Rain Man. So here comes that cool crossbar that ties the front portion of the cage together.
I think I'm gonna mark underneath the dash too.
Tony's got it going on. Tony, hey, oh! Those orange Forge Line wheels are just so cool. I can't get enough of them.
Yeah.
That crossbar looks really cool up there. It looks like something off of a FIA rally car. Doesn't it? It's like, yes, we're going to race through a forest even though there's trees very close by. I need a crossbar. I need a crossbar so I don't die. Oh, is that one of those 100 balloon things?
Something to talk about.
Ceramic, Axle, ferro spiral core, high temp, ceramic boot, spark plug wires. We actually use these things on all of our race cars because you're basically removing one more variable that might take you out. Burnt spark plug boots. As you can see, this one's for an LS motor, which is why it's nice and short, because LS motors are all coil on plug. And that'll just go, once we have, well, we do have spark plugs in just like that. Really neat part. They're not going on quite yet. So Mark Allen commented that Mike there from Willwood was just out racing in Fontana last weekend. Now he's here in Ohio screwing a car together. It's like Willwood has a cloning machine and they figured out how to get people in multiple places at the same time. Where would you rather be, Mike? Racing in California or here with us? That is the correct response.
We had a good time last weekend. No. He totally.
Yeah, Fontana looked like a lot of fun.
We had actually talked about more spit determination. If you don't have them, I saw the hay and stuff in it. But I mean, if you get to work like that, he was worried about fall. I think he'd be totally fine.
Oh, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
No, as long as the master is higher than the,
Yeah.
or the reservoir is higher than the master, it's totally fine. Now, I want to keep everything over here as possible, as close as possible, so I think I'm gonna run this. So we're gonna be clear for anything else, right?
So that's it. The Tiger Cage clamps are secure on the rally-inspired Monte Carlo crossbar. Tiger Cage down bars, one-offs.
I'll call Hector and have him overnight it.
Chris, thanks for joining. 70 Trans Am. I'd love to see a 70 Trans Am out there autocrossing with us. What you can do is decide how deep you want to get in. That's what you have to do. Because we have many levels of kits that you can choose from to decide where you want to get in. So for example, we have a street grip kit, which for your Trans Am's probably about a $2,500 kit. We have a coilover system that you can do for south of what, $6,000 for a coilover system. That gives you a great amount of adjustability in terms of spring rate, ride height, tuning, single adjustable. You can step up to triple adjustable coilovers. And if you want the monster, the big doggy, you'd be looking for a setup similar to what you see here, which is our Track 1 setup. That is a bit more expensive and custom tailored to every specific application. So there's no one set number that I can throw at you in terms of what it'll cost, but you'll have absolutely the best setup you can find, including our Instinct electronic shocks, our Track 1 control arms with Howe ball joints, our heavy-duty R-joint rod ends, which are one of the coolest things we invented and released in 2017, which is a Delrin lined rod end, spherical bearing, and our Track 1 modular billet spindles, which we can show you right now. The Track 1 billet spindle is a modular piece that is first and foremost designed to be super sturdy if you're building a autocross monster. So we're heading over there right now with the camera, and you'll see that these parts were designed to fill a need. With tires getting more and more sticky, like the BF Goodrich Rival S, and our ability to plant those tires better by way of our Instinct electronic shocks, and just everything coming together, we realized that we needed a much sturdier upright spindle assembly with a late model Corvette bearing pack to handle those loads, and also to create an environment where for those who want custom geometry, the KPI can be modified, the upper ball joint orientation can be modified, the steering arms, whatever you want. They can be made into whatever you want. They're also really sexy. Look at that. So yeah, let us know how deep you want to get, and we can steer you towards the right system and the right price point to get you started. And one nice thing about working with Ride Tech is we're out there. We're at all of those same autocross events, and one of the things we do, it's not something we charge for, it's something that just kind of happens, is we're there providing tech support in the paddocks, tuning support, even racecraft. So we are coming to the end of this this live stream session, probably in about 10 minutes, just so you know. Thanks, Martin. Yeah, the Street Grip system is just, for $2,500, is just a great setup. And it's something that that allows you to significantly improve the handling and ride quality of your car with a truly bolt-on setup. And you'll be really impressed with how that works. You can find that on RideTech's website. Go there, go under products, and look for Street Grip, and then just punch in your application. brick.
between ourselves and it screws down in there.
One of those charging bricks.
It's got threads on the inside.
It's like this big.
Billet fitting
You'll
that
stick
goes
in his
with
pocket.
the dash free coming out. And then you can run it on
I also have. Hold on. Can you charge off USB?
Just do it this way.
Can you rotate? Can't you rotate it? So.
So let's go do a good walk around of the car as they get that tiger cage in.
We're gonna do a little camera adjustment, guys. Hold on just a second. Can't you turn this 180?
No, okay. What we're doing, boys and girls, is we are switching over from our stable cam to straight up handheld so that we can plug in some battery backup so we can keep going. We're not going to stop. We're just going to hope that the battery backup does its sauce and we can keep going. And that means we are, is it working? Cool. It won't work, trust me. It's balanced that way. That's fine. That way we can keep going because it looks like we have battery backup. And that's good news because the tiger cage is going in. Along with the tiger cage main halo that they're putting in right now, one part that's been in the car all along is the what's typically
also have them
referred
new
to as a knee
flat
bar.
styles
This
that
one's
ties
not a
to if
knee
you
bar
want 'em.
because it's tucked way up under the cowl. But
Maybe for stuff that we see.
yeah, Tony says call it a dash bar, so we'll call it a dash bar. So basically, there is a dash bar under there that not only ties this structure together and adds a bunch of strength and torsional rigidity, but it also gave us a really
Do we have an
convenient,
oxygen sensor
secure
bunging?
place to mount our Holley Dominator ECM as well as our smart wire CAN bus electronics. Our traction control is going to go in there, and then the ends of that dash bar have extensions that will accept the A-pillar bars that let us tie into the main halo and that dash bar together.
If you watch while we were assembling the car, the subframes flex a lot, upwards of an inch just by changing locations of your jack stands. The subframe flexes. So a simple down bar ties this end of the subframe to the body. The key to it is then coming from the body into the A-pillar at minimum, so you have some rigidity and some strength. So there's actually a bar inside here running over. On the inside of the car, Michael will be able to see it on the other side. The bar comes through and it's going to connect to the overhead bars and come down, but it also comes out right here and catches the A-pillar. So we've got the A-pillar tied into the dash bar, which will be tied into the full cage bar inside the car, tying the whole car together. It'll be nice and safe and way more comforting on the road course than the C3 we ran last year.
Yeah, and a lot of work went into taking the halo A-pillar setup and getting it as far away from the occupants as possible and moving it up as close to the roof of the car and the A-pillars as possible. It also means that one of the first parts that went into this car as it was going back together was the headliner.
Yeah.
So that's done and out of the way, and it's actually pretty cool seeing the main hoop up against that headliner. Meanwhile, back under the car, Mike Ballard's still wrestling with the starter
And wiring.
and wiring.
That starter doesn't work. We have a regular one too.
It works. I just wanted to stuff the solenoid wire behind it.
Good. I like that one. You know, as Steve talked about these Excel wires a little bit, we started running these a lot. They can basically lay against the header tube. No burnt boots. Last forever. Really not that expensive. I think they're like 90 bucks or something. Good product from our friends at Excel/Holly. Remember what you said about putting that header gasket on upside down? Yeah.
Bruno, thank you for checking in from Portugal. Yeah, we use a combination of heat and noise insulation products. We really like Lizard Skin, which is a paint-on product. We use Dynamat. Boom Mat's a pretty good product as well. And all three of those, to my knowledge, are available from Summit. Right? Can you get Lizard Skin from Summit Racing Equipment?
I don't know.
I bet you can.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for checking in, everyone. We're real happy that you're following our progress here. We're going to do this again tomorrow and Friday for sure, if you want to keep your eyes out. And also, go ahead and hit that share button and get your friends to watch as well.
Did you put the 10 millimeter away that we were using on the headers?
It's probably in my pocket.
Pocket.
I was trying to put it back around the box. Wrong with the other one.
Am I in your way, Mike? Or are you done? Hammer.
Chris, thanks for commenting. First things first, come find us at Des Moines, and maybe you can get a ride in the car.
Sending fancy.
Sounds like that would give you a lot of perspective. I am here to tell you that these straight axle cars with 4-links, particularly our 4-link, work extremely well. There are IRS systems out there that also work extremely well. Different sort of installation process and different requirements. But yeah, don't think you would need to go IRS and not run a straight axle. Straight axle cars, we're out there running with straight axle cars, and they basically work within thousandths, tenths of a second, hundredths of a second, one way or another. So yeah, come on out to Des Moines and come to the pits and talk to Brett and Smitty and the crew, whoever's there. And who knows, it depends on the situation, but doesn't work. It's gonna kill your phone. Yeah, doesn't work.
You want to slide under and hold my header help me hold the header, Mike, so I can switch the gasket.
Like that?
Yeah, I got to take the back bolt out yet. I got 180 of the gasket.
Did we fuck it up?
Yeah, it blocks the spark plug hole if you don't get it right. So,
Are those the genuine GM gaskets?
they're the kinetic ones, which are,
No, that's why it didn't say manifold side on the ticket for fucking it up.
yeah. Then there's that. That's okay. These ones work as good as they do. They're the only ones that do.
Am I doing good, boss?
Yeah, I got 2 bolts in. You're good.
Greg's with us. Greg, congrats on getting your truck painted, brother.
6-bolt heads. When you tighten your side down, make sure you got clearance with your outer head studs. Those little guys.
We are worldwide. Thanks everyone for checking in.
I wasn't expecting that much stuff to be falling.
So the Tiger cage, as you can see, runs through the rear package tray as a bolt-on assembly and goes to rear down bars that secure to the trunk surface directly on top of the frame rails. Everything you see there is stainless steel. They are working to move in the direction of having every single bolt secured. If you were just watching, you can see that the plates that secure the Tiger cage to the unibody structure are really cool laser cut. Are they laser cut or are they water cut?
What?
The Tiger cage mounting plates.
I would assume they're laser cut.
Yeah, me too. They are laser cut. We put the cool Tiger cage logo right in them. The laser cutting machine is in-house, right at our factory. Pretty much everything Ride Tech makes is made in Jasper, Indiana. So let's recap. This morning we went and put the front subframe in. We put the Curry Enterprises turn 9-inch base rear end assembly in with the Miller built floater hubs and a wave track diff. The front subframe runs our Track 1 suspension and our Instinct electronic shocks. Front and rear we have Willwood 14-inch rotors, 6-piston aero calipers up front. Those are forged calipers. And there's a lot of technology in those calipers to avoid flexing and prevent pad knockback. We'll talk more about those tomorrow once we get a little over the hump. You'll see that there aren't any calipers mounted in the back. That's just because we put wheels on to move the car around before we put it back up on jack stands. You'll also see that we have
no reason
some
you can't pull back
honkin'
tires off if
orange
you want.
forge line wheels. And we're going to run 2 sets of wheels for this car. The orange set and the old black set. The blacks are really cool too
What's that?
because the black wheels have
I actually won't show them
satin
up till I
centers
go road
and
racing.
black
Well, no, they need to be at least
glossy
no matter what.
rims.
Flush with
So that's a really cool
So the
look.
top of the
That
brake pad-
combination, along with the PPG Stealth Gray paint, looks like something straight out of the U.S. military. It's a really cool look. The Forge Line wheels are wrapped in BF Goodrich Rival S tires, 335 front, 335 rear, 315 front. Wheels all the way around are 18-inch diameter. We've run Forge Line wheels on our cars for years. They're just flawless. They resist flexing. They are true like nothing else. I couldn't even tell you how small the run out is. Infinitesimal run out. How about that? Super high quality finishes, super high quality machining, manufacturing, and super nice people, which is important. What else do we have? We put the SDPC Race Shop LS7 engine in place. Makes, I believe, 670 horsepower. How much? On a warm-up pull, that's right. You can go to ridetech.com, go to the project section, look for the Track 1 project, and you can see a video of the warm-up pull where it did 670 horsepower. There's a couple of different ways to look at it. First of all, it hasn't really been fully tuned yet. I'm sure we'll get more power out of it once it's fully tuned. But the other side of that is as a race team, as a company, we strive for balance. So we know perfectly well how to make 1,500 horsepower or whatever number you want to bench race out. But we also know how to apply the right amount of horsepower to a combination to make sure that the car works and works in every facet possible. So we'll call it somewhere around 700 horsepower. Behind the SDPC Race Shop LS7 is a Bowler 6-speed transmission. In between those two elements is a Quartermaster 8.5 Extreme V clutch. It's a twin disc clutch. And then in front of that motor, you can see we are running a Vintage Air front runner setup, which sometime soon will be connected to Vintage Air SureFit air conditioning system that'll be mounted under the dash. The boys have been working smart. There's no sense putting something in the car that's going to prevent you from working on something else efficiently because it's in the way. So the Vintage Air system will likely go in place after the race pack wiring harness is done or close to done. And there's a lot of other parts yet that have to go on this car, and we're going to continue to live stream tomorrow and Friday for sure. If you want to keep an eye out for us, and when you see us go live, be sure to join. And then you'll see some parts that are on the car come together. Like, for example, right now the remote reservoirs on our Instinct electronic shocks are wrapped in plastic so they don't get damaged. Well, you'll see those parts get mounted on the car and unwrapped. So even some parts that are on the car are kind of hard to see right now, and we'll go through and spotlight all the various bits and pieces. The door bars of the Tiger Gauge system will be left out until later on in the process to make it easier to climb in and out of the car.
We'll just start back here in the trunk and work the others.
Starter's wired up. Mike Ballard doesn't mess around. It's got some heat shielding on the wires. Everything you see there, the heat shielding, the starter, the spark plug wires, the coils, all available through Summit Racing Equipment. Another badass forge line. This is what I was talking about earlier. If you look, the center is a satin finish, while the rim is gloss black. Here's the front of the car. You can see the custom down bar assembly. I keep saying the word custom because this is a pretty involved piece. I see we've made some bolt-on stanchions there that have to be welded to the car. And then custom bent stainless steel down bars with Tiger Cage clamps.
Oh, them are awesome. We used to go through so many spark plug wires. Not anymore. And they're only like 90 bucks. I think there's half. They keep adding more and more part numbers. You know, we built everything on the car so it would go together in and out real nice. Is the drive shaft in?
I don't know. Drive shaft in, Jay? Yeah.
John Martin, those are BF Goodrich Rival S tires. 335
For that?
in the rear and 315 up front. David, we can try to show you some of the underside of the car after we're done making noise.
Ready? Yep.
John, those are Axel Extreme ceramic boots. Spark plug wires, Extreme 9000 series ceramic. They have stainless steel terminals 8mm 600-degree construction, ferro spiral core, and 500 ohms per foot resistance. I believe that is a resistance measurement, a low resistance measurement for great energy transfer. Very cool. We got those from Summit.
Steering box, there was a fitting.
Look at those headers,
couple
man.
fittings with it. You know
Those
what
are
they
just cool.
I seen boxes that rods on it that had a belt in it, if that's what you mean. I see a turn one box.
No, the actual box, the steering box came in.
Spark plug wires are nice and short. You got it, John.
Inside, front, back, where you at?
Chris, we're using a Quartermaster Extreme V 8.5-inch diameter twin disc clutch assembly from Quartermaster. I think I just said Quartermaster. Now I've said it 3 times. All right, hold on to something because we're going to try to go under the car. This could get dangerous.
Looks like gas I'm pulling out.
Here we go. This is it. Our photographer is going down. Ooh, pretty. So, what do we have? This car was stripped completely down to bare metal, top, bottom, inside, out, which is the only way to fly. You want to build the ultimate car, you really need to. You got to start with a clean, bare shell and then work your way up. That's how the best cars are built. To that, you can see we have painted the underside PPG stealth gray, same as the top. Sure is clean and pretty. We have subframe connectors in place, but what you're really seeing there are those black inner frame rails that are part of RideTech's second gen F-body 4-link system. So the frame rails mount to the original leaf spring mounting points and add strength to the rear frame assembly, which is lacking in the second generation cars. So we did it this way for a few reasons. First of all, these frame rails are more susceptible to corrosion than the first gen cars. Why is that? Because there's practically a 90-degree kick up from the horizontal to the vertical that tends to collect a lot of water. Number one. Number two, they have built these cars for 11 years. They had a long run. And during that time frame, they made some running changes that make it to where if we want to sell you a truly bolt-on part that jumps out of the box, then the only guaranteed way to sell you something that you're going to be happy with is to go off of those leaf spring mounting points. Number two, we already talked about the fact that it adds strength. It's also a really good way to locate the upper shock cross member and to build a 4-link the right way. One of the things you're seeing in the photo right now is that we're using our new stainless steel R-joint rod ends, which are high degree of articulation and very low friction, very high wear resistance, and that's something that no one else has. So if you want a 4-link that's going to not bind, and a 4-link that's going to ride really nicely, and rod ends that are going to last. At this point, we haven't been able to make them wear out, so that are going to last a really long time. Then this is the way to go. You can also see there's a lot of adjustability in the 4-link design, both in the lower links, and we also have some adjustability built into the upper links. It's a cool deal. It's mind-blowing. It's totally out of the box. But look at the way that structure is triangulated and secured in 3 planes. This is a really cool, serious piece. For that, you can also see our Instinct electronic shocks right there, and if you look, there's a cable coming out of an electrical connection. In lieu of having a knob that you would turn to adjust shock absorber settings, it adjusts itself by way of a number of sensors in the car, including G-load, throttle position, brake pressure, vehicle speed, a lot of different variables there. There is a Curry aluminum Ford 9-inch center section, which is hiding the wave track differential. Look how pretty all that is. Dynotech drive shaft already installed, along with Summit racing equipment, drive shaft safety loop.
Steve.
Really cool stuff.
Steve, I'm going to try to turn around and face that way.
Okay. We're going to spin it around, show you the front, but I want everybody to go to Ride Tech and learn more about that 4-link system, because it's unlike anything else that's ever been built. Here we go. Our cameraman is on the move. All right. You can see the back of the Bowler 6-speed transmission, the front of the Dynotech drive shaft, the Summit racing equipment drive shaft safety loop, the nicely painted floor pan. Absolute zero rust California car. Hey Smitty, where'd the cross member come from?
That is a Holly part. It's a Hooker cross member.
The transmission cross member is made by Hooker.
It might-
I don't like it. Promise if it whips it out, it's going to take the pump up.
We have been using and beating on Bowler manual transmissions for many years, and they are just super reliable, even with our super sticky tires. You can see the factory front subframe. Anyone who thinks that stock subframes don't perform needs to come out, watch his car run, maybe even take a ride if he cares. It's almost going to be a shame to get this car dirty. Those are Detroit Speed and Engineering subframe bushings. I believe they are the 1-inch height bushings. Smitty, subframe connectors? The subframe connectors are welded into the floor pan. They're welded into the floor pan, but bolted to the back end of the front subframe so that we can remove the subframe if we need to. There is that gorgeous Curry Enterprises Turn 9 fabricated rear end assembly, along with Ride Tech's muscle bar, sway bar system with our new 4-link kit. We are developing a tailpipe system with Hooker that will actually run underneath the axles. Thanks, Don. That will run underneath the axles, but still leave full suspension travel. They actually look really cool. They've got a Y shape if you look at them from the rear. There's that Instinct electronic shocks. There's a couple things going on when you look at our rear, when you look at our shock absorbers. First of all, we have sensors that we attach that are part of our data logging system, not part of the electronic coilovers. What is part of the electronic coilovers is that black wire that you're seeing there that has not been final mounted yet, that connects to the electronic control system and allows these shocks to tune themselves in real time. Very cool. And if you come out and see this car run, or better yet, you get the chance to actually take a ride in this thing, your mind will be blown at how well these shocks work. For example, you'll go jam on the brake pedal, and the nose of the car will come down, and the shocks will lock the car at that particular height. As long as that's the correct position for the car, and provide just the right amount of dampening. And if for some reason the car were to lose traction right then and there, the shocks would adjust themselves and allow those tires to regain grip. So a really cool system. It's like having your own suspension tuning engineer in the car with you at all times. Trunk's painted just as nice and clean as the rest of the car. Smitty, I bet you're going to be happy to have a trunk again. Yeah, the 48-hour Corvette, wonderful car, but pretty tight in there. So this it's good to be back in a muscle car, and also really interesting to build a Camaro that's going to run as fast and as hard as a 100-inch wheelbase C3 Vet. You're looking at it. Woo, I need a break. Where are the Funyuns at? Yeah, different balance point. Oh yeah, we can't drill a hole. Yeah. Yep, with a standard size phone. Good. That works. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you want, go ahead and hit that share button. Get your friends to watch too. We're also going to be doing this again tomorrow and Friday for sure. Who knows? We might even continue this on into the weekend. We'll see what kind of progress we make on the car. I'd say we're making great progress so far. Let's talk steering boxes. Hey Smitty, can you talk about steering boxes while you're working?
Yeah, I just turned my mic on actually, I think.
Yeah, what ratio is that box?
The steering components on this car are all built by Turn 1. So if you're not familiar with Turn 1, they do all the NASCAR boxes. And we're changing the height of the power steering fitting here to make our hoses work a little bit better. And actually, there's this cool little fitting right here that most people don't know exists that Jeff up at Turn 1 makes. If you've ever done a power steering pump and you run braided line, you've always wondered how in the hell do you get a braided line on that nipple?
Yeah. How do you get a braided line on that nipple?
Well, they make a fitting.
That's really cool. So it's like a clamp. That is so cool.
Now if I remember how it works, we'll be in there like swimwear in a minute.
Man, why didn't I think of that? That is really cool.
Snug her up a little bit, and we put a number 6 on it now. Which I will tighten this up. So back to the steering box. We're actually running a 10-to-1 steering gear in this car.
Woo.
It's only about 3/4 of a turn lock to lock. So it's pretty fast. Not for your average go down the road car, but you can make lane changes very fast this way. So turn one has two services we can do. You can, after you buy the pulley kit, you can take the pump right off of it and send it back to them, and they'll rebuild it and go through all the tolerances and soup your power steering pump up. Or you can buy a new one from them with a reservoir, without a reservoir. They come many ways.
When everything's done, tearing a 40-inch tire.
So there's the steering box, and you see it's got a 10 on it. That stands for 10 to 1. That's the ratio inside the box.
Came off a low rider.
Came off of a backhoe. Yeah, right. It's crazy because the ram is stainless and it's real, and it tapers down to where your links are. It's a $7,000 opinion, but it's
Who's over there? No. Is he gonna be a chicken and not walk over here? It's just a camera, Andy.
I know, I don't want to see my ugly face on there.
Yeah, well, I'm talking on the whole time, and I'm ugly, so I got both factions.
Are you really fun?
PG a little bit, Mike. A little more PG.
Today on Shop Talk.
We've actually been pretty PG-13.
I've been biting my tongue so much. What about things that have been easier without the motor in?
We now have our friend stopping by. Hello, Mr. Hummel. Camaro enthusiast. My phone's been blown up about the wheels. Is what's funny is everybody's watching this and text messaging me at the same time, which is kind of humorous. But the orange wheels do seem to be a hit.
Yeah, they pop.
Come shove this balancer downtown. This tension, shove down on the tensioner. There you go.
I don't have a lot of tension, but I can get it in my hand.
It's got plenty. It gains it as the motor revs up real fast, which it will rev up real fast.
The motor runs real fast, the belt starts to fill, so it loses it.
There we go. All right. Progress, progress, progress. I guess as we're always talking to people on there, one thing to make sure you
Looking good.
remember is power steering hoses are not the same as regular Aeroquip line. They should be a TFE lined hose. It's much higher pressure. The regular rubber will last till you put a big load on it, then they explode, and then you run the power steering pump and send fluid everywhere. Then all your autocrossing buddies are mad at you.
And expands back.
Yes. Yeah, it's another thing lost in hoses, even brake lines, power steering lines. The rubber hose expands. When it expands, it loses pressure, and it changes, and it twists, and then wants to become a crazy snake. On your brake lines, it's always best case shorter the better. You don't run any extra length than you have to, because that hose wants to go straight. When you apply the brakes, that flex line right there wants to do everything it can do to go straight. So the longer it is, the more it'll try to snake and twist and kink. So it's always a good idea to make them as short as you can. You know, this car's got a 10-to-1 steering box in it, which is pretty fast. And you don't have to go that fast on a street car, but a good steering box is a great upgrade to any car. You know, the old original style steering boxes had the zero feel to them. You could take your pinky and turn the steering wheel, which in today's times when you get out of your regular car with a rack in it and jump in one of these with no feel to it, you snake your way down the road and it doesn't feel real comfortable driving, and a good box will fix that because it's got the centering bar in it and it goes on the road happy and has that road feel to it. So that's a real good upgrade.
That brings up another topic. There's a lot of people who ask us whether or not they should do a rack conversion on their stock subframe, and there are rack conversions that will go on and bolt on to the stock subframe, but just based on where that stock subframe is, we prefer that you get an upgraded steering box or circulating ball steering box and install that along with our tree turn system and all of our upgraded Pro-forged steering components, because this is the way to have steering that keeps the geometry where it needs to be. Whereas if you go to a rack, you will likely end up with a conversion kit that's designed to bolt on, but does not necessarily put the geometry where you want it to go. So with the right ratio in the steering box and the right level of blueprinting and the right design in terms of making sure that the pump works the way it's supposed to in conjunction with the steering box, we really believe and have proven by winning a Good Guys Autocross championship with a steering box instead of a steering rack, that steering box is the way to go on these older cars. Now, if you have a aftermarket subframe where they've gone ahead and moved the frame rails around, moved the cross members around, gotten it to where they were able to take that rack and put it in the right place, in some cases having to move the motor out of the way so that the balancer isn't encroaching upon the place where the steering rack is supposed to live. If you have one of those upgraded subframes where the steering rack has been put where it needs to be, by all means, go get that subframe with the rack installed. But if you're going to upgrade your stock subframe like most of us do, that's the way to go, steering box. Right?
Correct.
What's that? What's that shirt say?
Our favorite saying, there's no shame in a stock subframe.
No, not at all.
Which one's that? Yeah, that one's a little more on PG-13, but
let's see if we have any questions. Are we racing Raleigh this year? Raleigh's not on the schedule, right? It is? Bill Howell is here. What's up, Bill? Yeah, we'll show you the brakes and the wheels. And yes, this car will be at Raleigh Good Guys Racing.
when is Raleigh?
April?
Be April.
Can you show a close-up of the brakes and the wheels over there? Take it. Yeah. Maybe it's May.
It's probably April. Well, April, because Nashville is like Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah. So, what do we have? Hey, Mike, you want to tell us about the brakes a little more in depth? I've mentioned them, but here you go. If you want, you can just stick that in your pocket and hold it in front of your face if you want. We're going to improvise. We're going to let Mike from Willwood give you some detail on this 6-piston brake system. Bill Howell, Smitty says hi. Chase is with us. Richie's setting us straight. So Raleigh's in April.
So basically what we did is we went with the 14-inch, inch and a quarter GT Spec 37 rotors, two-piece hat rotors. It's got the floating. So if you come in close, you can see that it's got floating T-bobbins. So what happens, well, there's a big misconception, and people think that the floating is actually helping this, where in fact what happens is after this rotor starts to get hot and saturated, it wants to grow. And as it wants to grow, we want it to float on these bobbins so that it stays linear with the brake pads. If you don't do that, so if you have a fixed mount hat rotor, this rotor will start to grow, but it can't grow, so it starts to cup over, and it'll start pushing back on your outboard and even your inboard pads, which causes some knockback. So by going to the floating, we're able to let this rotor expand and contract, so as it cools back down, it comes back down, so it's not putting as much of a load or stress on the rotor as well. This is a proven caliper that we've had on quite a few cars over the last 5-6 years. Closed bridge, net forging. You'll see that it looks like it's a dark battleship gray. Well, it's because this is the net finish. Some of these areas that you'll see have been machined, so they're a little glossier. But this is our new coating that we're doing in-house, which is hard anodized. So it's a Type 3, clear, no dye. And that's what the finish ends up being. So on this car, as well as quite a few cars you're going to see this year, you'll see this new coating. Another thing that is new for this particular caliper is laser engraving on the caliper. So we have a full laser engraving studio for doing all of our calipers. We worked with everybody over at Ride Tech, and we've even come up with 2 or 3 of our brackets that aren't jiving, quote unquote, because this is based off of a C5, C6 Corvette. So we're making some revisions to make this bracket accept the new Track 1 spindle from Ride Tech. A couple other little things that I did to this set of calipers, which you can do to your own calipers. If you purchase this caliper, it'll come out of the box and it's got bleeders on the top and the bottom. Well, that's because this caliper can be mounted, because it's internal crossover. It can be mounted R for rear mount, or F for front mount. That way your bleeder is always facing up. But what I do typically on a race car is I'll re-retrofit these and I'll plug the lower bleeder. I'll pull the bleeder out and I'll put a plug in it. It's less things that can or may go wrong. And imagine like this same caliper we use on off-road applications. The least amount of problems that we can have with rocks or debris, the better. So that's some of the points of this. If we come up to the master cylinders, one of the questions that Smitty asked me was, hey, you make bitchin' billet reservoirs, why don't we put those on the car? But what I explained to him is, this being a race car, a functioning car that's going to go out and compete, we want to have plastic reservoirs because they're not going to retain the brake fluid temperature. The billet reservoirs, aluminum, you'll hold a lot of temperature for a longer time. But then another main issue is, you want to be able to check your fluid levels without getting into the system. You don't want to be pulling caps off when you're sitting in the pits. You want to be able to make sure that everything looks right. So if you've got a problem with your brakes, the first thing you can do is visually inspect and see what you've got going on. So the way that we did this is with the remote reservoirs. As we get a little bit further into this, what we can probably do is tomorrow talk about why we picked square area front and rear, and then also why we picked different bore size master cylinders front and rear. But going from here, if you come inside, something that keeps coming up is ergonomics. So getting the car set up for the particular driver or drivers is very important. So as you can see, and if we look at this, I'll stick my foot in here. For me, being a smaller guy, this is a size 10. So even if I have race shoes on and a boot or a heel cup, it's still pretty tall. But when
Smitty has huge feet.
he's got a 12 or a 13, he said. So
Like Pennywise the Clown.
his foot is coming up to about here. And then with the carpet that'll be inside the car, it's going to put his foot placement just about where you want it, like right there. So that's perfect. Something that we're going to want to do is also set the height of the clutch and brake pedal so that he can go from here or left foot brake without much hesitation.
I spaced the pedal away from the gas pedal on purpose.
Because you're a left foot brake?
That left foot brake's so much auto crossing. That's why the big gap's there.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. So having that gap on your left foot brake this is really good ergonomics. For me, I'm not a left foot braker, I'm a right foot braker. I'd want them a little bit closer, and because I've got a smaller foot.
I mean, the easiest way to show that is just put your feet side by side and look how much room it takes, and they're touching there.
Yep.
So then the pedal's gonna be far enough apart that your feet have room. You know, we've seen it many, many times. People get their cars hung up or wide open throttles because they were 2 foot braking, and you get your foot on your gas. You go to hit the brake pedal, and you push the brake pedal on top of your gas, your foot on the gas, and you push the gas pedal down, and the car takes off. We see that a couple times a year.
Yep. And this car has got a lot more room than, say, the Corvette did, right? The Corvette's got a much smaller box. So the next thing would be the rear stuff. There's more on the pedals that we can touch on, and I'll talk about it more. On the rear, it's also a 14-inch rotor. It's inch 100 thick. Smitty typically likes a lot of rear brake. What I find is a lot of guys that are shoes, they're good drivers. They can typically use a little more rear brake than, say, the average, especially novice guys. And then we've got a 4-piston aerolite that's going to be in the back with the same setup, hard anodized. Now the other thing that we did is we offer this rear hat, and ultimately these rear brakes are what bolt onto a C5, C6 with the Curry differential and the floating hubs from Midler. Is it Midler? Miller. So basically what we did is we used our floating hat that still accommodates the parking brake. One thing that I'm constantly telling people is I go, look, these are still street cars. We're saying they're race cars, but they're still street cars. Let's make them so that they're as close to a street car. It sounds like this car's going to have air conditioning.
Yeah, this is a street car. This is absolutely a hot rod.
So it's really important that I always explain that to these guys is, hey, I understand you think it's a race car, but if it's got license plate and headlamps, it's driven on the street.
More than that, I mean, if we put this thing next to a real race car that has a silhouette body on it and a full roll cage and loud exhaust and no radio and the doors don't open, you put this thing next to a real race car and you're like, yep, this is a hot rod.
Yes.
It so happens that these hot rods are now running so close to each other at events that it's racing.
Oh yeah.
At any given point in time, the lead could change hands, and there's a handful of guys that might take home the win. So anyone who doesn't think this is real racing is in for a surprise because of how close the competition has become. And anyone who thinks this is a real race car is in for a surprise when they go for a ride in it and realize that, particularly with these Instinct electronic shocks, it rides like a Cadillac at the push of a button. The brakes don't squeal. You don't have to fight the brake pedal to get the car to stop. The steering is real easy. The seats are comfortable. The sound insulation is there. It's got a stereo. We're doing a full kicker sound system in this car. Vintage air, of course, climate control, full climate control, a real headliner. Race cars don't have headliners. So yeah. This is it. It's a street car that races.
Yeah, we try to build as much of the street car parts into these cars. Because who knows, you might go to a USCA event and the next thing they check is if you have a parking brake.
Yeah, yeah.
And
this
those are
car
street
does.
cars. Got to have a parking brake.
Yeah. Working through with Miller Built to have a bolt-on assembly that really addresses one of the biggest issues that pro touring enthusiasts face, which is having that side load on the
knockback.
bearings in a Ford 9-inch and knockback is a really big deal.
Yeah.
It's not something people think about when they first getting into the pro touring hobby, but rear axle assemblies is something that, and rear brakes in the same vein, is something that every pro touring enthusiast has to get right. And sometimes it doesn't happen until after the car's done and down the road a ways, and they realize that there's better ways. This is the ultimate setup. You know, a turn 9 housing with a Miller Built full floater assembly that keeps the bearing in place and accepts 14-inch bare brakes or Willwood brakes without breaking a sweat.
Well, and that's the important thing is I'm constantly preaching to people, especially at the track, is, you know, as much as I want to sell you brakes, I want to make sure that we're bolting the brakes onto something that's going to work properly for what you're doing. So not only is it used to be what size wheel are you running? That is the first question. But the second question is now turned into what are you going to do with the car?
Yep.
90% of them all stay, it's just going to be a show car. I'm just going to drive it to the track.
That's it.
I might do an autocross, but then I explain to them,
Totally.
you're going to enjoy doing the autocross, so we better just do it right.
Yep. And Willwood works with Forge Line and Miller Built and Curry and everything works together. Well, that's it. We are going to sign off for today, and we're gonna do this again tomorrow. We're going to recharge our batteries and make some more progress tonight. Eat some food and do this all again tomorrow. So keep an eye out tomorrow for our live stream. I don't know what time we're going to get started live streaming in the morning, but come back, check on the progress, and tell your friends. Thanks for watching. Steve from Ride Tech.